Good afternoon, everyone. This is Henry, and in tonight's video newsletter, I wanted to bring you a couple of ideas. I had titled this as one being long-term and one short-term. Truth of it is there may actually be three ideas in this, and Airbnb could fit both durations. So the thing that is interesting about this pattern, and there are several, but the first of which is the proximity to earnings. So if you see these colored labels on my chart, it's working to keep us on top of these moments in time, essentially 21 days before earnings, 8 days ahead of the numbers, the results themselves, and then the 8 days that unfold after, because there are patterns that you can look for during those moments in time. Look how right here in Airbnb, I'm showing you this short-term idea first, where you can see previously, 8 days before earnings were announced, you had the low compression squeeze in play, and you had a couple of days of some really nice directional movement into those numbers. Now I didn't go, there was one day that it sagged before those were announced, but again, if you think of this as a window, there was some pretty decent bullish opportunity in that, and then you try to make a couple of bucks along the way, exit that position before the numbers are out, and then ideally you're selling into an anxious crowd while you've got that high implied volatility. And here we have a very similar situation. So you see the squeeze. It's longer in duration, but it is that low compression variety, but we're right back into this window, right? So 8 days before the earnings announcement, we see the way it acted in the past, and I just think that you've got a chance to run this up into 150. So, we all know that the S&Ps are well extended, but they also continue to climb the wall of worry. If we can get through this week and next week is more of the same, I think Airbnb from 140 to 150 is a very tradable short-term move. Now the long-term aspect of this is a little bit more dicey because you do have to see it through earnings. And of course there's a larger amount of implied risk that goes along with those binary events. But what I want you to see is that when we use this swing high against this swing low, do you see the 618? This is a very important retracement in the study of Fibonacci, and you can see how it has been a critical area of resistance. Now with today's close, we're working to get through this, but this is the longer term idea, that once you start more reliably getting above the 618, well then you open the door into the 1272 extension, and as a longer term idea, if we can get through earnings without any big calamities, I think you'll be looking for 180. So that's really a short-term and a long-term idea in Airbnb. And then the other symbol that I mostly wanted to focus on the short-term with you was Apple. So I do these video newsletters with you on Thursday. And when we covered this Thursday of last week, I told you to watch for Apple and its potential, the action that it could have around 210, because I thought it would be kind of a magnetic pinning-like strike. And at the, again, if you're looking for shorter term, kind of smaller gains, selling the straddle at 210 and working to buy it back for a 60 or 70 cent gain, that actually came through really well, because you can see it traded as low as 209.70. So anything that prints through that 210, depending on the time that it all happens, will usually give you a chance to manage, again, a modest winner. But I think you have that same setup for tomorrow. And I think the pinning strike is 215. Now, to take it a step further, I do not think we get above it. You can see as plainly as I do that has been resistance. That is currently the call wall and the key gamma strike. Usually those option complexes are going to keep a lid on things, but it's just the battle between this being a huge area of resistance, while Apple also has a bid, and if SPX is looking for 6,400, I think that takes Apple back to 215. I think the short straddle could make you, again, 60 or 70 cents. If you want to push it into the close and actually get the pin, it'll be even better than that. And then that's when I will stop the short IV plays, because all of the options that are out into next week are going to have heightened implied volatility because of earnings, and that'll be a whole different basket of decisions. But I hope that gives you some helpful charts, a few ways to think about some spread ideas into tomorrow and next week. Have a great rest of your Thursday, and I hope to see you in the chat room tomorrow. Hey traders, this is Henry with SimplerTrading.com. I wanted to thank you for watching today's video. I hope you found it helpful, and if so, be sure to click the like and subscribe buttons down below. If you would like to also see me putting these ideas into action and trading my own account live in front of you, be sure to sign up at simplertrading.com, and I hope to see you in the chat room sometime soon.